In this tutorial, I am going to show you what is file input output operation. In order to see the input output operation in a file, you will have to understand what is actually input output IO, what is actually file IO operation. File IO operation means you can easily work with the files. For example, a text file. You can read a text file, you can create a text file, you can append something into a text file. So using the PHP code, you can modify a text file or read the information that is written into text file, and that is actually the input output operation. I am just going to show you that this is actually a directory structure view code. For example, you want to see what are into a folder or what are into a directory. So in order to do that, this is the code. So I am going to my code editor and here I paste it. So what is actually given here? This is actually directory content. I want to show the directory content as this will be an array format. So I am going to get to scan dir function. What does this function do? This scan dir function just you will have to give a parameter here, the folder name. So if you give any folder name of your PC, then that folder contents will be shown in front of you. So as I am going to use the Laragon, for example, I am working in the PHP practice folder and here is Laragon www PHP practice. So you can easily give the location here, that is for Laragon www PHP practice. That means if I now run this one into my browser, it will show what are into here. The dot, these are actually the basic folder content, but the main thing is here index.php. Another one I am going to show you what is into the Laragon folder. Okay, so if you go to see what is inside that, I am going to show you what is inside here. All the data right here, right? So bin data etc etc folder are there. So I am going to run this now and you will see that bin data desktop.ini, this type of items are given here. So all the folder, all the file list etc will be shown here. So in this case, you can easily see the content of a file using this command, the content of a folder using this command. So I am going to stop this now. This is very helpful. Now I am going to show you something in order to read a file. There are total 3 modes. One is read, another is W, that means write, and A, that means append mode. So what actually these modes do that are given in detail here. R is actually open a file for read only. So you can just read a file. So file pointer starts in the beginning of the file. R plus is actually used to read or write into a file, and file pointer will be in the beginning of file. W is to open a file for only the write purpose. If there is no file by this name, W will create a new file, and file pointer starts at the beginning of the file. W plus is the same, but here it can be used for read or write both modes. So in this way there are something, and A is open a file to write only, but the existing data here it will not replace, it will just add something with the existing data. So how we can do that, I am going to practically show you something. So in order to read a file, there are total 3 ways. The first way is this. I am just going to copy this and going here, and this is my code. Here something coming, why? So okay, for example, I am going to read a file into the same place where actually I was PHP practice, right? So here I create a file, for example city.txt. So this is a file, and in this file I am going to open it with a notepad, and here I want to write some list. For example, some city names: Khulna, then Dhaka, then New York, Boston, etc. city. I give here a list, the 4 cities, right? Now I will read the city.txt file. So here I will give the name, that is city.txt. As I am in the same location, there is no folder I need to give, but if I put the city.txt into a folder, then I will have to give here the folder name and then slash. Now you see that I am going to give here a read mode. So what is the app open files? App open files actually opens any file or URL in PHP. And here are some parameters. So I use 2 parameters here, and I am going to call I am going to assign the value of this function into a variable, that is fs. Now I am going to check FEOF, that means it will test for end of file on a file pointer. So I will call this one into a while loop, and not FEOF means until the file is end. It will just run and read each line. You will see that in the city.txt there are total 4 lines. Line number 1, here city is Khulna. Line number 2, there is Dhaka. Line number 3, there is New York. Line number 4, there is Boston. So what it will do, it will just read line by line. First line it will read, second line it will read, third line it will read. In this way it will read and go up to last. So this is given here into a while loop. That means when I will run the while loop, I will get total 4 lines. So I am going to get each line into a variable like this, that is fgets. So fgets actually gets line from file pointer. So each line I will get using this function, and I am going to assign it into a variable. That variable I am going to echo in my screen. And when the while operation is completed, I will use a fclose function in order to close the file that I opened here. Okay, so let's check it. I am going to my browser and I am going to refresh it. You will see that the items are showing here. That means what are into the file that is showing here. I am going to add another city name, for example, like this. And if I refresh it now, you will see that the last one is here. So in this way you can read a file easily using this way. That means way 1, fast way. There are some other ways. For example, I am going to read a file using the file get contents function. So I am going here and I am going to make it off like this, and here I am going to give the file name city.txt, and in this way file get contents I will just give a parameter here, the file name, and I am going to get the file contents here. And this content I can easily use the NL to BR and get the all the items here. So refresh it, you will see that all the content coming in this format. In the file, now when I read a text file, then actually the new line you see here in any text file, you see that there are some lines in the first line, second line. So those new lines are actually assigned into PHP by this way, for example /n. But here for this reason I am going to call NL to BR, that means new line to BR. So this variable will be replaced by the BR tag like this. Okay, so this function actually does this thing into a file. Actually this is not a PHP file, this is normally a text file, city.txt. So as this is not a PHP file, this is a text file, so here the new line will be indicated by /n. So in order to change it into a BR, because in my web browser it will actually understand the BR, it will not understand the new line. So in order to make my browser understandable that the new line, so I have just used this function built in, that is NL to BR. So this is another way to get the file contents, and I will show you the third way, that is it. Here I am going to call straight using a file. So in this way you can use a file function. So in the file function I am going to give city.txt, so all the lines will come into a variable. So for using the for each loop like the PHP, simply I can use the file lines as line and then echo it. This is the most simpler way, that means simplest way among the three. So here if I refresh, you see that the output is showing here exactly the same. Now I am going to show you how to create a file. For example, there is no file by the name city. I am going to remove this file. There is no file here. Now I will write something into a file. So there is an option, you see, create or write file. So I am going to copy this one and I am going to paste the code here. So here the unnecessary codes are coming. Okay, so here I will give a name. For example, I will give a name here country. I will create a file that's name will be country.txt. That file name I am going to give into fopen, and here the mode will be w because I am going to write something here. So this will be the into the file and I will run like this if the file equal false, because it can be false or any error can be here. So if file equal to false, that means there is actually no file name comes. Then for security I will print error in opening file. Otherwise, just using this fwrite, you can easily write contents into the country.txt file. For example, I give the list USA/n. You will have to use /n if you want to put countries in new line. That means in first line it will write USA, in second line it will write this. If I want to put another country, I will give here put like this. So in this way I can use the fwrite function in order to write the content into the file. After the content is written, I will use the fclose function to close the file. So now let's go here, just refresh it. Now I am going here. You see that the country.txt file has been built, and you see USA, Australia, Bangladesh, these are showing here. So this is one thing. Now I am going to do another one, that is I am going to append something in a file. This is actually the write mode, it is okay. I am just making this code intact. I am going to another one, that is append to file. So I am just going to copy it and to paste it here, and now I will append the file here. In order to append something into a file, you will have to give the name here, that is our case country.txt, and here I will put the mode A. A means I will actually the append into the file. So fopen is okay, file name is okay, and this will be the append mode. And in the similar way, if the file equal to false, there will be an error message, and if everything is okay, then I will write something here. So you see that in the country.txt already there are total 3 countries, USA, Australia, Bangladesh. Here I will add more 2. Okay, so here for example Canada and England, 2 countries will be added here. So fwrite, I will use the same thing, only for the append mode the previous content will not be overwrite. For example, if I write here w, then give it, what is going to be happen? Let's check. I am now going to run this into my browser. Now I am going to close it. Now I am going to run it again. You see that Canada and England is here. That means the previous content has been removed, and then it write it. That means it actually overwrite it. But if I want to use the append, see that the current content is Canada and England. Now I am going to append it. For example, other countries, that is Bangladesh and USA. These 2 I will use in append mode. I will give here A. Now if I run this here, okay, now I going to open it. You see that after Canada and England, Bangladesh and USA comes. but no new line comes here. I am going to save this file as it is again. In order to give a new line, first in the starting of the text I will have to give a new line. Now let's try to run it in the browser again, and now I am going to open it. You see that first a new line comes, that means here there will be new line, then it will come write Bangladesh, then another new line, it will write USA. So the file has been updated. So in this way the append mode works. I hope you have understood the basic functionalities how we can work with the file IO operation.